now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. I appreciate you tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like, you dislike, or even if you just want to outsmart me on something I said, go ahead, shoot us a quick call, 219-413-9405, and we will play your take back on our next episode. Now, shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Go ahead and get $20 off your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code TheRunPodcast. And this code can only be applied to first-time users on the mobile app or website. So I don't know about you, but baseball season is still rolling strong. The Cubs ain't doing too hot. White Sox tickets is super cheap, so might as well go ahead, create you an account, and go to one of those games by using that promo code. Anyway, look, man, the finals just happened. We seen the Boston Celtics win the finals, and it's rough. It's rough if you're not a Celtics fan, because you really don't want to see all of that. Anyway, some off-season stuff is here, too. Some news later on down the show, but we're kind of staying in Detroit today, because shout out to Sports Rap Radio out in Detroit, 1270 AM. We collaborated over the weekend, and it was dope, man. It was super dope. So we're still in that Detroit state of mind, and I got to bring up some of the things that's going on because the Pistons, they added the Pelicans assistant coach, Frank Vinson, and Frank Vinson is known as a shooting guru, and this also solidifies that head coach Monty Williams is staying there in Detroit. And everybody knows the Pistons were awful last year under Monty Williams. He was 14-68 with the Detroit Pistons, amongst one of the worst performances in an NBA season ever. It was garbage, bad, terrible. However, whatever word you want to use to describe a terrible season, that's what Monty Williams was. But people kind of got to give him a little bit of slack here because Monty, he did have something going on. His partner, she was dealing, I believe it was cancer, or she was dealing with some sort of illness all through the course of the season. And it's tough for someone to be fully invested when you have a family crisis like that going on. I mean, it's tough. So I try to give him leeway, but also it's like, bro, you in a hot seat a little bit because 14-68 is just ridiculous. It should never get to a point where it's that bad. But I'm also a firm believer that coaches, they take time to develop. You need to let your coaches get a genuine relationship with the players on the team, with the front office, with the staff and all of that. But the interesting thing here about Frank Vinson is him being hired in as an assistant coach here with the Pistons is you almost give someone another shot to be 110% invested in what the Pistons got going on. Because if the head coach isn't invested in terms of he's got other stuff going on with family and all of that stuff, you need someone else who's going to give 110%. You need everybody else on the coaching staff to give 110%. Frank Vincent, known as the shot doctor, helped Lonzo Ball fix his shot. Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Najee Marshall, Jose Alvarado, all of these different guys who played on the Pelicans increased their shooting percentage by a large margin. Almost 10%. Herb Jones went from 33% to 42% in a single season of shooting a three-pointer. So that tells me, the shot doctor might be on to something. Lonzo Ball, 32% all the way to 38%. Crazy. Jose Alvarado, 29% to 38% in a single season. These are tremendous jumps. And for a team that has a lot of athleticism like the Detroit Pistons, we're going to need some guys who can shoot the ball because we know we can get to the cup. K can get to the cup. Ivy can get to the cup. Thompson can get to the cup. We got some athletes on the team. It just so happens that they can't shoot the damn ball. So a shooting guru like this, I approve. I'm content with this. The only thing now is the Pistons got to make the correct decision come draft night. So draft is coming up on the 26th of June. And, there's been some speculation of, they should draft this guy. They should draft this guy, draft this guy. To hell with drafting anybody if you're a Detroit Piston. If you're in the front office, to hell with drafting anybody. We need to trade that fifth pick because that fifth pick isn't going to do us any justice. That fifth pick is going to do us nothing. How can that help us if we're drafting another young guy when we're trying to elevate out of the little kid zone? If we're trying to move over to the grown-up table, we don't need to invite more kids to the little kids table. We need guys who can shoot, whether that's free agents or whether we make some trades. And out of the rookie class that's there right now, these guys aren't that good. Bronny James is being talked about the most, and that's a damn shame because Bronny didn't really do anything on the collegiate level. Zach Edey is one of the most popular players in the draft right now, one of the guys who are deemed elite in the draft. And Zach Edey isn't an animal like that. He was good at Purdue. He got to the line. He drew some foul calls. But let's be real, bro. Zach Edey not going to the league dominating in his first 3 years. It's just not going to happen. At best, he's going to be a Zaza Pachulia. He's going to be a Igauskius at best, bro. And this is the reality of it because he doesn't have the best footwork right now. He's not an animal like people are proclaiming him to be, like he was in Purdue. But he was really just taller than everybody. So Pistons got to trade that 5th pick. Let that go. And some of the free agents we should target, ideal free agents in my mind that I've kind of put together is you got DeAndre Hunter over in Atlanta. He's not really a free agent, but he's over in Atlanta, and I think we should try and get him because Atlanta's kind of dysfunctional right now. They got a lot of different things going on in their organization of trying to trade Trae Young and possibly keeping the first pick, trading the first pick. They're figuring some things out. So they might be trying to shift guys around, and we need to put together some sort of package, give them the 5th pick also, and let's bring DeAndre Hunter there because he shot just under 40% in his past season, and I can accept that. That, to me, a guy who can play 3 and D, I'll take it all day. Another dude who actually is a free agent, Malik Beasley. We need to make a run for Malik Beasley if we're the Detroit Pistons because Malik Beasley shot 44% from the three-point line. He can play defense and he can get to the cup. But above all, we need some guys to help Cade Cunningham and Ivy and Duran spread the floor because as of right now, everybody can go besides Cade. Everybody get the boot. Get them up out of Detroit. If their name is not Cade Cunningham or even Jalen Duran, get them up out of Detroit because those are the only 2 guys who showed some sort of progression. I like to see progression throughout the season, and I have not seen that. Miles Bridges is another guy I would take out of free agency. Don't pay him too much. Let him know we want him to stay here, but tell him he's got to show us something first. Paul George, hell no. Hell no. Pistons should not be trying to get Paul George. And I'm going to tell you why we should not be trying to get Paul George because this is a Pistons special. How many players have we got when they've been past their peak over the years? In the past few decades, we love doing this. We love bringing in guys when they're way past that peak of their career. Blake Griffin was the latest victim of that. We had Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson, Josh Smith, Chris Webber. The list goes on of bringing guys in after they've passed their peak. And Paul George would be another guy who's just collecting that bank from a poor organization or an organization who really doesn't know what they're doing. So we don't need to bring Paul George over there, and I doubt he would even want to come. But anybody throwing those jokes out there, throwing those rumors of bringing Paul George, nonsense. Don't do that. Get Derrick Jones Jr., if anything. He was kind of broke in the finals, but let's be honest. He's a solid 3 and D wing guy. I mean, I would take that to help spread the floor with Cade Cunningham. Don't bring Tobias Harris. Don't do that. We don't want Tobias Harris. So. Above all, man, Pistons got to make something happen. There's plenty of options out there for us, but we need shooters that can help Cade Cunningham because right now he's the only one that's doing all the scoring for the Pistons. We have no other help on the scoring end besides Cade Cunningham. So we got to get some shooters, help spread the floor. We know guys can get to the bucket, but when teams clog the paint, what do we do next? We can't shoot. So we're screwed. That's how you end up losing all these games, and that's how you end up going 14-68 for a single season, which is awful. Anyway, look, man, let's go ahead and jump into a quick side note here because, as I mentioned, I don't want to give the congratulations, but I got to pay my respects just as someone who enjoys the game of basketball. So the Boston Celtics, man, they accomplished history. They won their 18th NBA championship, and, congrats to the Celtics. Unfortunately, I think it was solid. Jaylen Brown ended up getting MVP, and above all, I want to say the Celtics did have a great season, man. They played well. They had an easy little road there, but they took advantage of it. It's not their fault of the opponents that they played. It's truthfully an advantage of being the number one seed going against easier opponents. And if health just so happens to play a factor in that, then it's nothing that the Celtics can do. What do you want them to do? Not play the game? Do you want them to lose on purpose? Do you want them to give up and just let other teams win so like they can go and have an easy trip to the finals? Like it doesn't work that way. So, I mean, as much as many people don't want to give credit to the Celtics, including myself, you do have to respect that they played a great game, a great brand of basketball. And the moves that they made over the past year and a half have been great, man. It's been great. Everybody kind of questioned that Marcus Smart move of getting rid of Marcus Smart and bringing in Drew Holiday and like making Derek White play, but I thought it was great, man. It was brilliant, and clearly it worked out for the better. So again, man, kudos to the Boston Celtics on winning another championship. Another side note here too is Frank Martin got KO'd by Gervonta Davis. That was crazy. If you didn't watch the fight, man, he went down in the 8th round, I believe it was. I predicted the 9th round, but man, pretty much. To give a quick synopsis of what happened, Gervonta Davis felt Frank Martin out. He just, kind of was playing in there, playing defense for the most part, probably like to the 5th or 6th round. He was just kind of being a little passive, playing defense, just making sure he was filling his opponent out. And then, man, by the time that 6th and 7th round came around, it was over with. He started to really let him have it. I know the 6th round, he threw more punches than he did all the way up to that point. So that was also crazy. And, man, hey, it was a good fight. I enjoyed it, but thought it was going to be by decision. It just so happened to be a little rough. Anyway, look, man, we got some news coming up for the run. Anyway, look, so shoot us a quick call, 219-413-9405. We got some news for the run coming up. We'll be right back. It's halftime. So this is a segment here where usually I just inform you guys. It doesn't happen every episode. So if this is your first time listening, don't expect this often and don't get thrown off too much. It's just every so often, every blue moon, I just like to share what's been going on in my life. So like I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, was in Detroit over the past weekend, and it was really dope, man. Got to meet some great people, got to link up with some great people. Shout out to the legendary Rob Parker, of course. I'm really just putting on a whole team out there in Detroit, man, and doing this thing, giving the guys a platform and starting something new out there. So if you're out in Detroit, man, check out that radio station, Sports Rap Radio, 1270 AM. It's dope, man. You got some great talent on there. You want to check it out. It is a Black-owned and operated station, also a partner of Odyssey as well. So, it's dope, man, and I enjoy being out there just connecting with everybody. One of the things we were talking about a lot was the Pistons and Lions too. Not gonna really touch on the Lions today, but also seen Bad Boys. Bad Boys was dope. If you haven't checked that out, we saw Martin Lawrence and Will Smith do their thing. Sorry, gotta grab a sip of tea here, but it was kind of dope, man. It was kind of dope. It's supposed to be my recovery time also, but just let it rise sometimes, man. Whatever is going on, just. Do y'all think some of the instrumentals are groovy on here? Just curious. All right, okay. I'm gonna wrap up. When I start getting to stuff like that, that's when I know we need to progress with the show. All right, this is my recovery time though, so. And I said it doesn't happen every time. All right, let's jump into the news. Let's get some news going. All right, let's jump into it, man. News for the run. We got some good information today. So in the NHL Finals, the Florida Panthers have a chance to close out the series as they lead the Oilers 3-1. Game 5 of that series will take place tonight. Now, 12-time Olympic gold medalist Michael Johnson is launching a new track league called Grand Slam Track. It's going to include $12.6 million in prize money, 4 annual slams. Athletes are going to be paid a salary. It's going to happen in 2 U.S. cities and 2 international locations. And this will also be the highest paid track circuit in the world. And it's said to be the plan that will revolutionize track and field. So looking forward to that, man. I'll give you guys more information, the more things I come across on that topic, because that's something I think can really make a huge impact. I'm excited about seeing more information about that also. Now, for the first time, HBO, they will go behind the scenes with an entire division for its new Hard Knocks season. Cameras will follow all teams in the AFC North. This will debut on December 3rd. And I know I mentioned this before about Hard Knocks having all these different series, so I kind of want to bring this back because all offseason in the NFL, we've been talking about, Hard Knocks is coming back with this team. So some of the teams that's going to be out there, you'll have the New York Giants. They're going to premiere for the offseason and what happened this offseason on July 2nd. Hard Knocks training camp with the Chicago Bears will premiere on August 6th. And then Hard Knocks, the end season with the AFC North, will premiere on December 3rd. So you got a lot of different dates there to pay attention to, but I think it's cool because we'll kind of have something to follow all offseason and even on into the season. So I think that's pretty cool there. I'm excited to see the Bears and honestly, too, excited to see the AFC North, man. That's going to be some good competition there and just like a lot of different, you just get to compare teams. You know, that's what's cool about Hard Knocks. But usually we compare teams when it's at the end of a season, we see how this team prepares. And then we see how the Colts prepare compared to what the Dolphins did. So it's cool to be able to kind of bounce those ideas off and see those different perspectives. Anyway, let's stay in the NFL because there's big money going on around over here, man. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're paying the hell out of Trevor Lawrence. They reached an agreement. They're going to pay the man $275 million on an extension, and this includes $200 million guaranteed. Now, Trevor Lawrence, he's tied with Joe Burrow now as the highest paid quarterback per year in the NFL on a per year basis. And, Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't really accomplished anything. So this disturbs me just a little bit because we're getting to a point where we're paying guys for potential. And I'm not really a potential person. I like to see what they've accomplished. I like to see what's already been done for the reason that I'm paying this person. He threw over 4,000 yards, 21 TDs, but 14 interceptions, 9th in the AFC. Trevor Lawrence isn't really like that. Thinking about it now, comparing him to all the other guys who's making big money in the NFL as a quarterback, he's not really like that. You got Joe Burrow up there tied with him, $55 million. We know what Joe Burrow can do, but he's had some injuries, which doesn't make him that much special. Jared Goff, $53 million, just went to a conference championship game. Justin Herbert, I don't know why he's on this. Lamar Jackson, he had an MVP season, $52 million. Jalen Hurts, he proved a little bit of what he can do, $51 million. Kyler Murray got paid big bank a few years ago with the Cardinals and still haven't done anything but get injured. Then you got Deshaun Watson there making $46 million, but he can't keep his hands to himself, unfortunately. And after Deshaun Watson, you got Patrick Mahomes and Kirk Cousins making the same amount of $45 million. Now, I know I threw a lot of numbers at you right there, but that's the whole point I want to make. All of those quarterbacks, if you just heard the name, all of those guys are just about better than Trevor Lawrence. And a lot of those guys have accomplished a lot more than Trevor Lawrence. So to me, seeing Trevor Lawrence get paid $55 million a year, that immediately increases the expectation I have for what he has to do in this upcoming season. I better not see him fall short. I better not see him not make the playoffs. $55 million, I need you to prove to me that you can take my organization to the conference championship. I don't care who is there. I need to at least see a division win. We need to be division winners if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because $55 million is a lot, man, and that's a big expectation on him. And right now, I'm not convinced that he's I'm just not convinced that he's worth it. I'm just not convinced with it, man. I mean, the numbers can be there and all, but ultimately it's about wins, man. If you don't get the wins, then the fans are not going to be happy. They don't give a damn how many yards you throw for, how many interceptions you throw, and if it's good or bad or whatever. At the end of the day, fans are just going to care about wins. And Trevor Lawrence has not been getting enough wins to become one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL on a per year basis. So I'm expecting big things. Any quarterback that's making over 50, even over 45, really, truthfully, you got to show me something. Jared Goff done showed me something. Pat Mahomes clearly done showed me something. Even Kirk Cousins before he got injured, which is a whole nother topic that we're not going to discuss. But Lamar Jackson damn sure showed he's worth that $52 million a year. Jalen Hurts, more or less. All right, look, man. Hey, that's all I got for y'all today. So, of course, I appreciate you kicking it with me and just hanging around, man. We're about to go ahead and wrap up. We got one last thing just to shed some positivity on you, hopefully brighten your day, just enhance your positive spirit that's in your body. I'm going to just leave you with this, man. Just find your balance. Find your niche. I think that's the word, your niche. Whatever. Find your balance. I'm gonna just say, find your balance, man. Sometimes you got to recalibrate and, reprogram your brain, but just find your balance, whatever you do. Whether that means you got to do something to make yourself happy for a second, or just take a step back and observe of what's been going on in your life. Find something that makes you grateful. Find something that makes you realize that you're having a lot of fun again and enjoying your time. But above all, you got to find balance, man, because there's going to be a lot of things thrown at you. There's going to be some good. There's going to be some bad. There's going to be some negative, positive, weird, appropriate, inappropriate, all of these things. It's going to be thrown at you. So just find your balance. And just, make sure you find your balance. Do whatever you got to do. Anyway, look, that's all I got for y'all today. So I appreciate you kicking it with me. Until then, we're going to be back later on this week, and so on and so on and so on.